I get a call from Steve Byrne.
Okay.
And Steve goes, you want to go to Israel?
How long ago was this?
14 years ago, maybe?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
12, 14, I don't know. And I go, why? I don't want to do a show there. And he goes, no. You know, I got a call, and they're flying out a bunch of comedians and actors, and it's a free trip. And I go, why? I don't know, they just want to show us the country and their culture. And you get nice hotels, free meals, and you get a tour of like...
Are you not performing?
No.
Nothing. Okay.
So I went there with Jamie Chung, Brian Greenberg, they're actors, and Steve, Lopez went out, George Lopez.
Okay.
And we went out there, and then when we got there, they were like, welcome. We're like, thanks. And they were like, but every day you have to tweet how great Israel is.
Every day?
Yeah, like put out a tweet.
They told you have to, and they didn't say anything about that before you left?
I don't remember them saying it before.
But they might have?
They could have.
Or maybe they said it to Steve, and Steve conveniently left it out?
I don't know, but I do know that I feel like if they did say it, that I would have questioned it.
But the funniest thing is this one guy on Twitter that was saying a while back, I live on a ground floor apartment and I hear Jews underneath me. And everybody's like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah, that's anti-Semitic.
Exactly. And now he's like, I told you I wasn't crazy. But this guy's just...
But what are they doing? Like, I heard that they hired people to build like this tunnel, and they were hanging out, and like the people would live there for like 3 weeks. These like migrant workers were just digging this tunnel, and they stayed there for 3 weeks. But what's the purpose of it?
I have no idea. I don't know anything. I just know that there's tunnels, and that there's this one video of this guy coming out of the sewer. So he lifts a manhole cover, comes out of the sewer, and then he's fucking wandering around, this Hasidic Jewish guy. And everybody's like, what the fuck are you doing down there?
Yeah, that's really bizarre. They wouldn't come out, too. The cops had to get them out. Like, they were like, we don't want to come out. And they were, like, charged with disorderly conduct. I don't know. The whole fucking world is just weird.
What do you know about this, Jamie? Anything? Wait a minute. The tunnels are so big that you don't think they could make them in 2 years? Is that what you're saying?
Some of them look big. It's
really?
Like, how do you... I mean, some of them are saying they go... They're going to multiple different buildings. It's like a series of tunnels. It's not just a tunnel.
Let's look into this.
They're still looking into it. I don't know, like, that
when
there's been a
it
mapping
discovered?
of it yet.
Was it yesterday?
It's only been discovered a couple years ago. I forget how.
A couple years ago?
Days ago.
Days ago.
I forget even how they discovered it. I think they were looking.
Yeah, I don't. But it's funny how like things are so crazy. Like you read about something like that, and it doesn't even stand out that much. Like we talk about it now, and then tomorrow will be some other weird shit.
Right.
Like every day, it's something weird. It's something crazy.
Yeah. It's way more than ever before.
Yeah.
We got Jim. Officials and locals said young men in the community recently built the passage to the sanctuary in secret. When the group's leaders tried to seal it off on Monday, they staged a protest that turned violent as police moved in to make arrests.
How long does it take to make a tunnel?
I'm assuming a couple years if it went that far.
It all depends entirely on what's down there already.
Were they putting dirt in their pockets like fucking Shawshank? That's what they said they were doing. They had like dirt in their pockets.
I saw that as a joke. I don't know if it was real.
Oh, boy.
What an asshole endeavor.
What a rough time for the Jews.
It is, yeah. Yeah, this doesn't...
Man, they're getting it from all angles.
They really are.
It was Bohemian Grove, so they called it that, because people did whatever they wanted, and it was open, and they had like poetry, and they had plays, and they had all the rest of it. Then, by the time Howard Taft became president, the Republicans basically bought it. So the reason it's important is the Republicans go there to they ship in all these private hookers, all these jets land nearby, but they also have a lot of gay sex, which they use then to basically compromise people into the cult. And so there's a lot of gay sex.
How do you know this?
It came out in news articles. No one ever got footage of it. I was in there for one day. I snuck in. I looked good back then. They hit on me a lot. I had people I recognized from TV walking around. Hey, let's go right now. I mean, it's a big gay hookup deal for Republicans. I'm just telling you what it is. And then they've got this ritual that's only the feeder group. So I'm sitting there during the ritual, and I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. The dude goes, shut up, I'll kill you. And they're all taking it very seriously. And I'm not saying it's a gay thing. I'm saying that some of that goes on there.
You were saying it was cool, and people were getting angry that you were saying.
No. I mean, I was just quietly going, oh, this is really interesting. They're like, shut up, this is a very important ritual. And they were taking it very serious. This hearse comes in with the body of a child. It is an effigy. They're not killing it. And
well, it's just a bundle of sticks, right?
Yeah, well, it looks like a kid. No, later, others infiltrated later that worked there and got us photos of it. It's an image of a kid. It's a little kid.
Because Moloch in biblical is who they sacrifice to Canaanite.
It's a bull, but they do it as an owl. But
they do it as an owl, yeah. But that's from the Bible, is you would sacrifice a child to Moloch.
Give not your children to the fires of Moloch.
Right.
And so I've given it to experts in religious history. It's not even, from Christian perspective. Yeah. It's a Faustian deal mixed with Babylonian and religious stuff from Tyre.
Yeah. It's quirky.
Look at that. Look at that owl god and look at the fire underneath the owl god.
And there's Ronald Reagan.
I mean, if you saw that, if you were in the woods and you just saw that, you would be terrified.
And Richard Nixon said, Richard Nixon, on the Richard Nixon tape, says it's a gay orgy.
Richard Nixon said that?
You can pull up Richard Nixon talks about...
Yeah, Richard Nixon said something about it where he...
It's the most goddamn faggy thing you ever seen.
I think it's just allowing...
Well, nothing against... That's what it's saying.
So weird, the owl and the... it's interesting, and I don't know how seriously they take it. I mean, that's the real question, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole gay thing's a side issue.
Right.
The point is that I've talked to people that according to Ted Gunderson, the first time I ever heard about this was from this former high-level FBI agent who was going to be the FBI director, but he wouldn't go along with corruption, so he wasn't. It's on record. Gunderson almost became the FBI director.
And he blew up like the things like the Franklin scandal, and he's been a...
and the Finders, and the Finders Club.
Cult, which was huge.
Yeah.
Which where the CIA was caught trafficking... The Finders is a cult that was caught trafficking children, and the CIA squashed the Florida...
and then Gunderson got it raided in D.C. and found a whole CIA facility with the snuff films, everything.
Telex machine.
And so he told me about all this, and I thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
Even though he was Ted Gunderson.
You told us about it, and we actually pulled up one of those stories.
And I was correct.
Yes, you're correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Ted Gunderson is the reason I know about this, and he said that they get people interested with that ritual. There's like 2,000 members. They bring about 1,000 guests. Not everybody can even bring a guest. Like the head of each camp can bring a guest. About 1900, Skull and Bones, that was at Yale in New Haven, Connecticut, that was a German death cult. It took over Bohemian Grove, and that's when they set up that as the central deal. So it's this big, inviting, fun party.
What happens at Skull and Bones? Because that's one of the other rumors about Skull and Bones.
They
compromise you.
I know.
They compromise you so that you're always a part of this.
It's the leftist, always say they're the liberal. Liberal and leftist are two different deals. Leftist is left-hand pass Satanism. Liberalism is egalitarian open society, true liberalism. And so the left-hand path set this up, and then they sent all this opium money they had over in 1831 to Yale to set up a German secret society of the Illuminati, which then has become one of the dominant secret societies. And in there, they do actual satanic rituals. They get in coffins. They do simulated human sacrifices. They have gay sex as part of the ritual.
They did leak a Facebook photo album of a bunch of Skull and Bones kids hanging on a Deer Island. They kind of look like losers. I know they're not. I know they're not, but they kind of look like losers. I mean, it was kind of like embarrassing.
A lot of billionaires look like losers.
Yeah, they look like emaciated. You were like, these are the Illuminati. It was kind of like.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Remember ABC News, because they wanted to get Bush in trouble right before the 2004 election. Another frat was able to, because they're all doing this crap, shoot video down into it where they're going, devil equals death, Satan. And they had girls they finally brought into the membership. It was all boys before.
Yeah.
Sacrificing. So, of course, it's idiotic. It's training wheels for what they do. But inside, they go grave rob. They've got Geronimo's skull.
Yeah, the George H.W. Bush supposedly stole Geronimo's skull.
Yeah, you got to do things like...
I don't know if that, but that's a legend, rumor thing, yeah.
It's probably true. It's been broken into.
Yeah.
One time the police went in there, but the point is that Skull and Bones, Order 322, is the Illuminati Germanic death cult that now set up chapters all over the U.S., and it took over Bohemian Grove around 1900. And so that's why Bohemian Grove is still this artisan, deal of elitist artist, but then it got co-opted by the Republican Party and Skull and Bones. And Helmut Schmidt, German chancellor, wrote Men in Power as a political retrospective when he retired in the late 80s. Saying, I love our Illuminati rituals that we have in Germany in our own sacred groves. But I think they've taken it to a new level with Skull and Bones at Bohemian Grove, and I really enjoy the time we have there. In Skull and Bones and Bohemian Grove, what he said is most of these guys are not gay. It's an act of dominance, like, oh, you're a senator, you want to be president, bend over, and like a former president screws you in the ass. And that's what they do. I mean, the ritual is, I'm in charge, bend over.
Well, isn't that a thing with fraternities anyway? Like hazing? That you
Yeah,
jizz on a cracker?
Exactly.
And
So it's the next deal.
Yeah, but most people in fraternity, I mean, these are the top kids. These are kids that they think are going to occupy leadership positions in the world.
And often do,
And
eventually.
often do. So even
Let
though
me give you an
people-
example.
yeah.
Even John Ronson saw the photo with me when we snuck into Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
And they had it hanging in. And people say, why didn't you get a video? I have a camera hidden right here. It's Henry Kissinger bent over in a woman's dress, sticking his fingers in his ass.
Bill Clinton in a blue dress with Jeffrey Epstein's house.
Yeah, but that's just an artist rendition. Do you know that was just an artist made that?
Yeah, but
Maybe
why?
this was an artist rendition. We're in a clubhouse.
Yeah.
Ronson wrote about this.
Oh, so it's a photo or a painting?
No, it looked like a photo, but let's just say it's a painting. I don't know. I mean, it's ancient memory 20 years ago.
Okay.
20 plus, But I mean, Ronson's like, look at that. And I'm like, is that Kissinger? Yeah, and it's Kissinger. It's all about being improper. And then they all go get caught to compromise each other to be in the club. It's a hazing thing.
So that they can trust each other because they're all doing shady shit.
Yeah.
Yes. Even if it's an artist rendition, why does Jeffrey Epstein have it in his townhouse, a picture of the president in a blue dress?
Well, because the president flew in his fucking plane
that's what I
26
mean.
times.
That's what I mean.
He was
Yeah.
basically.
And by the way,
it was a
Ghislaine
power move,
Maxwell
wasn't it?
is now come out in court. It's getting no attention, confirming, okay, Clinton did fly to that island.
There's a lot of weird shit going on with this.
I know.
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits,
He
this
called
guy.
in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing. Right after, so somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child porn right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child porn. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right, right.
Right, and because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT fucking perplexity things, like, what are the odds that
Odds
this
of this?
guy
Yeah.
would be at all those different events and be involved? Like, zero.
Right.
That's
Well,
where it
I
gets
almost,
squirrely.
I almost texted you when the Charlie Kirk thing happened because my antennas went up about. They showed the photo of that kid or the guy that they have, the 22-year-old,
Yeah.
whatever. And I was almost going to be like, dude, you think he's got the capability to do that?
Yeah, well, listen, there are people that look like that have the capability to do that.
Pretty
yes.
accurate.
Now, here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like, it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern-looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad resolution. It might be wood. It's hard to tell. But if you showed me that and you said, hey, this is my cousin's rifle, is this any good? I'd be like, looks like a standard bolt-action rifle, look like a sophisticated modern scope on it, sure. Now, apparently, the narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait. Why are you using such an old gun? Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, is it possible that an old gun can be that accurate? If you have a gunsmith and they work on it, yeah, it's totally possible. You have a really good gunsmith and he sets. If you're like a nostalgic person, you like driving an old car, you could bring it to a mechanic. They could redo the brakes.
Sure.
So if you got a good gunsmith and he took a look at that and the action was true and the bore is good, yeah, you could conceivably shoot with a gun for hundreds of years, right? Guns don't necessarily go bad.
Right, they don't expire.
Right, and especially because all the stuff like the trigger and the action and all that different stuff is replaceable. So you can just it's compartmentalized. It's components. That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit.
Not gonna fit in a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? What's that about?
Is that what they pitched, huh?
Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid fucking backpack. It's literally It makes no sense.
And the elevator music was a nice touch, by the way.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
So this is just a narrative, right?
Yeah.
We watch a guy jump off the roof, and then we supposedly find this rifle. So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, "I shot him, now shoot me. I shot him, now shoot me," and then that guy gets arrested for child porn charges, like he's like, what is going on here?
So
and then you
weird.
find this rifle, and then you say, "Oh, he assembled it and he reassembled it." Like, okay. A lot. If I wish I was a cop, I'd sit in a room like, this story is horseshit. Like
Yeah.
none of these things make any sense to me. Like you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like? There's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs. You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet.
Yeah, we saw didn't they have video of him jump? Somebody had a cell phone video of him jumping.
There's a
down,
video
right?
of him jumping. So this guy, whoever it is, jumps off of the roof and lands, whether or not he's even the guy who shot him. Maybe he thought he was going to shoot him. Maybe he's a patsy. Maybe he did it.
I feel like he's a plant. Did you see the video? Did
I
you see
don't know.
the person doing the investigating on his mom's Facebook?
No.
You haven't seen this? Have you seen that, Jamie? Some dude online.
His mom's
is-
got a weird Facebook. I
It's
spill coffee.
very trippy. It doesn't make any sense. Like the more they
here's the
keep
thing,
looking into
dude.
it, the more they're like, this doesn't feel like a real. It feels super fabricated.
9/11,
Of course.
almost.
Yeah.
You know, similar.
Yeah.
Almost like,
Those are the events.
unless you knew somebody in 9/11,
Yeah.
it's probably bigger. Than
Do you think it's
9/11.
possible that down the road, not that the government did it, but that we find out that there was a substantial cover up? You know, we didn't know about Saudi Arabia, their involvement for a while.
for 9/11?
Yeah. Do you think it's possible that you don't know the whole story?
It's totally possible.
yeah.
I don't have any idea what was being done or who was involved. And
Yeah.
I know that there was a bunch of hijackers and they flew planes into those buildings, but who was behind that? Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
A plane hit the Pentagon.
I mean,
think so.
well, okay, but just release. I just want to see one video
Yes.
of it happening.
Right.
Just show me one video.
Do you think they have a video? Is
There's
there some
80
weird
cameras
video?
on the Pentagon. Just show me one video of it happening. I
Isn't
think
there
it
one
probably
video
happened.
of a plane hitting the Pentagon?
There's one, but it's very weird. The frames are very weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Just show me the video. I want to believe a
Meanwhile-
plane hit the Pentagon.
The rover on the fucking moon is taking beautiful video.
This is what I'm saying. This is the problem. This is the
camera.
issue.
You imagine if you have some shit that's like 1,000 times worse than
Yeah.
like one of them doorbell cameras.
Yeah.
They got 1,000 times worse, and it's viewing the goddamn Pentagon.
They're putting it together from cell phone cameras. I understand that it was technology was different. Just show me a video of a plane hitting the Pentagon, and I'm good. I'm with you.
What do you think? It could be a missile?
I don't know, but I just want to know why there's no one video. We got to see a video. Isn't that crazy? Why am I crazy for saying, can I just see one video of the thing happening that you said happened?
Well, did you know that maybe this is not true, and Jamie's going to be checking this one out soon. The area in the Pentagon that got hit
Was refortified.
was the same area where they were doing the accounting.
Yeah.
Where they were trying to figure out where the $1 trillion is missing that
Yeah.
Rumsfeld was talking about
Well-
on camera. I think the day before, right? Wasn't he?
It's an interesting situation.
Didn't he say that there's like missing money? Like they're
Yeah,
trying
and
to
like
figure out.
wasn't
what
Rumsfeld like out on the lawn? Like these people
Yeah.
are, what are they doing?
They're just doing.
You're not in a
press.
bunker, you're out on the lawn. I don't know what happened. I mean, listen,
It was something crazy, like trillions of dollars.
2.3.
it's a 2.3 trillion.
Oh my god!
I mean, you know.
And so the next day, to see if that's true that area of the
I don't know
Pentagon
how to
that
find
held
that
the
out.
accounting.
I don't think they tell you what.
Just see if you can Google the area of the Pentagon that was hit contained the accounting offices.
Jamie, I
No,
believe,
but I
I
don't
believe the
think that
dark
they would
web will
tell
have
you
it.
that.
The dark web will have it, Jamie.
I feel like I read that though. I know I understand your suspicion,
Yeah.
but I just like you to just.
I'm trying to lie.
I heard that Building 7 had a lot of financial records in it. That's what I heard.
That's what I heard. Is
I
the
don't- Enron?
NSA,
I don't know.
CIA, all the satellite dishes that were pointed at Epstein.
Listen, here's the thing with the way I look at conspiracies. I don't want to believe in any of them.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Like, I want there to be a plane hit the Pentagon. I want it all to be what it is. I have no
now that
investment.
we know that a bunch of elites were going to an island to have sex with underage girls.
Yeah,
we
there's
know.
of course
We know.
they could do whatever. They don't
But we
care.
also know, like, hey, how much of this is true? Like this
Right.
is a wacky one.
Yeah.
This is one that if you told your mom
Yeah.
like 10 years ago, she'd be like, Timmy, you're back on the drugs.
Yeah. Yes,
Right?
she would. Yeah.
She'd be like, the fuck is wrong with you? No one's going to an island to fuck kids.
Right. But it's the same thing. It's like now that that's on the table, you look at other events and you're like, well, we don't know necessarily how all of these things happen.
No, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We just have to go. There's conservative fire companies from Queens,
Right.
from out by Long Island that because they've gotten sick and stuff have demanded like a new investigation. And these are not like crazy people. These are people that just go, listen, we're all dying from first responders and things. We just, we want to know exactly what the hell we breathed in and what the hell's going on.
Well, it's all the burning chemicals from the basement of the building, right? Wasn't that the idea?
guess
Those fires burn forever.
I
and
guess that's what it is.
yeah, those guys so many of them got sick. So many of them got
Yeah,
cancer.
it's horrible.
The physical evidence of the impact on the body is
That's more important, yeah.
way more important and way more obvious. That first of all, the establishment of the magic bullet was one of the most preposterous things that the United States public has ever accepted.
And I think we did a great service by driving a stake through that heart of that vampire because it's been around forever.
Well, you detailed in so many different ways,
Yeah.
too. You detailed all the various ways that they had tried to establish it. Once they found the wound in the back, they tried to
Well,
establish...
don't confuse it. First of all, the magic bullet, there's no chain of custody on it. The
Right.
FBI lied, and we
Yes.
proved it in the film.
Yes, you did.
Because the times don't match.
Right.
And when it was given, so the FBI down and out lied.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Hoover, of course, never wanted to believe that Oswald did it alone. He had to because they put themselves in a straitjacket. They said 3 shots.
Mm-hmm.
There were not 3 shots. It was probably 4 or 5 shots. 3 shots. One assassin who, why? What's his motive? He was a perfectly reasonable young man. He was in the corridor being yelled at, and he said, I need a lawyer. I'm a
Right.
patsy.
Yes, yes.
The guy didn't behave like he was proud of what he had done.
No.
Which is what they said. He was a communist, an assassin. They had this background of visiting Russia. Of course, we found out, the community found out that it wasn't everything didn't meet the eye. It was a whole other story going on. That was the intention, I believe. I believe that the CIA was so upset about these 2 near invasions of Cuba that this was a chance, by killing Kennedy, to get the United States to move against Castro. And this is where Johnson is not, you can't blame Johnson because he felt that there was this pressure right away, and he said to the Warren Commission guys, he says, look, there's a lot of pressure to point the finger at Russia and China, and Russia and Cuba. We don't want to do that because we're going to have a nuclear war if we do that. Like 40 million people are going to be dying. That's what he told Warren. Warren went white, in those days it was very serious. 40 million people, my God.
How deep in that he was looking to do something to weaken the grip of the CIA. Not just get rid of those 3 guys, but he also wanted to diminish the CIA's influence.
Yeah,
and
but
power.
that wasn't his only thought. He had 100
Right.
things to deal with.
Right, that's the
around-
problem,
around
right?
The world.
And
He wasn't
newly in office.
Well, yeah, by 60. He said statements about the generals. He said, they're not worth a bucket of piss or whatever it was. They're not. Generals think they know everything. They always want to go to war. They want the parades, but they don't want the casualties.
Because when you break down all the various people that you document, everyone from Arlen Specter to everyone that's on the Warren Commission's report, it's very clear that those folks had to know that what they were doing was bullshit. From what you said about the FBI chain of custody for the magic bullet to the alteration of the autopsy photos and the difference between
the autopsy itself.
Yes, the autopsy itself. The difference between the Dallas autopsy and the way they looked at it at Bethesda, Maryland.
There was no autopsy in Dallas. It was just
the
they tried to save his
examination
life.
of the
It was very
body.
quick. The tracheotomy.
Yeah. The tracheotomy and also the description of the exit wound in his head.
Well, that comes out later.
Yeah.
Although some people didn't see it, but 40 people. What the ARB did, thank God, was collect all the people who saw the rear exit wound, and it was huge. We showed it in the film. We showed the 40 people who saw it.
What's really crazy you document in the film was the fact that it wasn't really his brain.
I was going to go to that.
Yeah, please. The brain that they had used as a piece of evidence that this was Kennedy's brain had clearly been in formaldehyde for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm so glad our documentary, and this is James D. Eugenio who wrote it. He's really the guy who reads everything, remembers everything through all these years, and there's 1 million documents. We drove a stake through the magic bullet. That's clear. There's no chain of custody. The FBI lied. They also, in the matter of the autopsy, the brain is intact. And it was photographed as such. It was a clean. The whole area was still there, whereas it's impossible because the brain was seen. You see it spraying out in the car in the Zapruder film. You see it. The nurses, Audrey Bell, is talking about I can't remember the medical term, whatever it's called. It's spilling out on the floor of Parkland.
Yeah.
And when they weigh the brain, as they do in an autopsy, it comes out normal.
Well, not just normal, but extra large, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
Larger than average. It was like.
It's impossible. And what's more important is, and this drives a stake again through the heart of it, the photographer of the autopsy, John Stringer, the autopsy photographer. He's a straight guy. He's, pro-Warren Commission, all that stuff. They bring him back. The ARB brings him back, and they show him the photos that we now have of the. That are in the National Archives, and he says, I never photographed that.
Right.
It was he took an up view of the brain. He never took a basilar view from below.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I never photographed that.
And
that's very important.
There's also some evidence that they had drawn hair in to cover up the exit wound.
Yes. I don't know about the evidence, but definitely the photograph shows that the hair had been pulled in. The shot is bizarre. It's bizarre shots. So the autopsy is off. The brain is off. Photos are off. Then you go, the Garrison trial revealed one of the autopsists, Peter Fink, saying that they were not in charge of the autopsy. The military was.
Right.
They wouldn't let him put his finger in the back hole.
Right.
They told them what to do. And they were very bullying. In fact, can you imagine doing an autopsy on the president and having 20 or 30 people looking at you from a gallery?
And they were telling him what he was able to do and not able to do. So the autopsy was being directed.
Yeah, I showed that in the movie. Don't touch that.
Right.
Don't do that.
Which is so you have to think that.
Plus, they have the best autopsy people in the world, civilian, all around Washington. Why wouldn't they call them in? No.
Right.
There's no desire to.
So they had a predetermined ending that they wanted to achieve. Or a result that they wanted to achieve.
Three bullets, one assassin.
But this
MK Ultra.
Yes.
MK Ultra was a government program run by the Central Intelligence Agency. Originally started as something called Bluebird in 1948-49, morphed into Artichoke, and then in 1952 became MK Ultra. It was a mind control program, a brainwashing program. The CIA was trying to learn how to control people's behavior without their knowledge. Now, this all came out in Senate and congressional hearings in the 70s. It was exposed, but nobody knew about it until 1974 when Seymour Hersh, the New York Times reporter, reported it on the front page of the paper. So their main objective was to create what they called hypno-programmed assassins, people who would kill on command, popularly known as Manchurian Candidates, after a book that was written in 1962 and later became a movie and then a movie again. The people would be, through drugs and hypnotism, the objective was to get people to go and commit an act of murder against their moral code and have no memory of their programming and be amnesic even of the act after the fact often. That was just that was their main goal, but they were also trying to create couriers, people, military people that they could implant messages, send them, across dangerous areas where there were, at that time it was the Vietnam War, and deliver messages and then have them wiped from their memory in case they were captured. They had all kinds of objectives. So the CIA admitted that they had done this, but no one would say exactly what they did. All the records had been destroyed when the two people who ran it, Richard Helms, who had become the director of the CIA in the 60s, and Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, who was kind of the mad scientist who had supervised they had safe houses in San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, where they would experiment on people that were lured into these apartments and houses that were either look like brothels or hippie communes or whatever. There wasn't a lot of, I mean, I guess there was a lot of Google then, or a little bit, but when I did a little research, I found out that there had been these allegations that he'd been involved in MKUltra. He always denied it. He was never prosecuted, never even investigated. He went to his grave threatening to sue anybody that said he would have anything to do with this kind of a program. Again, through another long story, but I got access to his files, which had been left at UCLA, and they had never been processed when I called. And when I made the request, it took them 2 or 3 months to process the papers. I went through them through the whole summer looking for a needle in a haystack, and it was intuition, gut. I just thought there might be something there, and sure enough, I eventually found it. It was correspondence between Jolly West and Sidney Gottlieb, the doctor that ran MKUltra, beginning in 1953, about conducting experiments on people without their knowledge to get them to have amnesia of the acts after they were programmed, and everything that he had been accused of and denied, he did. Not only did he do it, he created the blueprint for the whole program with Gottlieb.
They did a lot of crazy shit back then. Are you aware of Operation Midnight Climax?
Those were the safe houses in San Francisco.
Well, that was the brothel version of it. Yeah, where they lured these Johns into these brothels and then dosed them up with LSD and studied them. Yeah,
George Hunter White was the head CIA guy, and he would sit behind a two-way or one-way mirror and watch them. The Johns would be dosed with LSD. They tried aerosols or just drinks, different things, and then they would study their behaviors.
Aerosols?
Yeah, aerosol sprays.
Really?
Yeah.
But that would get the prostitutes too then, no?
No, the prostitutes would get them in there, and then they go to the bathroom or something, or to be in the bathroom. Yeah.
Oh,
and again, the problem is the records are so scant because Helms ordered Gottlieb to destroy all the records in 1973 when the two men left the agency. And the only reason anybody ever discovered that it existed was a whistleblower, somebody who used to work for the State Department who remembered that there were records in a warehouse, and they were just financial records from the beginning of the program in 52 until the end, and the possible end in 73. And it was just financial records of where research took place, how much was spent, what kind of equipment was bought, but nothing about the content. The guy that found that ended up testifying to Congress and working with Seymour Hersh to expose it was named John Marks. He wrote the first book about MKUltra that came out in the mid to late 70s called The Search for the Manchurian Candidate. And after he wrote his book, he never, he spoke, did a little bit of a tour, and then retreated into obscurity and never would do an interview again until I approached him in the early 2000s, and when I told him what I had found in West's files, these documents, he agreed to meet with me at his townhouse in Washington, D.C., and he told me, he said, the reason I stopped talking or writing about this was people were camping out on my front lawn, telling me that they'd been victims of MKUltra. He goes, I couldn't go anywhere. My whole life became crazy because everybody thought that they were subject to this because nobody knew. They did these drug tests on prisoners, hospital patients, Johns, hippies, people that had no idea that this was going on for 25 years. So Marks became the authority. So he had never given an interview till he met with me. And when he looked at my documents, at that point, I think I had about 10 or 12 or 15 pages that grew eventually because I kept going back to the files and getting more. He said it was the most unredacted, uncensored account of what the real objectives were and what was really being done. He said if I had that, my whole book would have been different. That's one of the problems about saying, well, how much did they do or how far did they go? There's barely any record, and that's another reason it took me 20 years. And West was there recruiting subjects. Now West, while he was there that summer, had opened something called what he called the Haight-Ashbury Project. And in his correspondence and papers that I found, he called it a laboratory disguised as a hippie crash pad. And just like the Operation Midnight safe house, they call them safe houses, which were disguised as bordellos and that type of thing, or brothels. This was an apartment that was decked out, or as he called it, tricked out to look like a communal hippie place. He had 6 graduate students, and I have his letters to them before they came to work in this. He goes, grow your hair long, wear jeans, dress like hippies, and lure people in there. So they ran that for the summer of '67, and West was getting people from that Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic on Clayton Street and sending them around the corner to Frederick Street to participate in that.
Good Lord.
And I got the diaries of some of the graduate students who were there, and they all, in these diaries, said, we have no idea what we're really supposed to be doing here. We feel like this whole thing is a cover for something else. What does Jolly want? Why is he making us bring these people in? So
imagine doing that to graduate students, telling them to bring people in and drug them up. Imagine telling them
some of
to
them
make an
liked
apartment.
it.
I'm sure they liked
because they
it.
were also, encouraged to use LSD.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I mean, imagine being a graduate student and this is your project on people. I mean, that sets up, even if you leave that program and go on to do legitimate work, the ethical foundations of your career are set up in such a strange way. You're manipulating people against their knowledge.
Well, they didn't know who they were doing it for. That's why they were always questioning it. So, I don't know how. I found 1 or 2 of them after, and they were very careful talking to me.
I'm sure. They probably felt like they were going to go to jail.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. If any of these experiments or whatever was going on resulted in a death, there's no statute of limitations on murder.
Right, right.
I mean, that's one of the biggest disappointments of my book is that people like West aren't alive, to answer to this. And it was really frustrating for me because, again, his name was on the front page of the New York Times in 1977 when they had the major hearings about MKUltra. And it identified him as the head of the psychiatry department at UCLA, a very prominent doctor, researcher. And he said he had nothing to do with that. He'd never used LSD on humans, and he wouldn't. He said they had asked him, and he said no. I have all these letters between him and the guy who was running the program describing how they're going to do it, hide it from his colleagues. When he started at Lackland Air Force Base. He was running the psychiatry department at the hospital there in 1952. When he was there running that hospital, that's when he started his experiments on prisoners, human subjects, and one letter to Gottlieb, he says, eventually we have to take these experiments out into the field.
Oh, Jesus.
Exactly.
What does that mean?
Well, if you haven't gotten through a Chapter 11 yet, you haven't gotten to the Jimmy Shaver case?
No, I haven't.
A year after, maybe Jamie did. A year after West contracted with the CIA to do these experiments, July 4th, 1954, a 3-year-old girl went missing from the parking lot of a bar at about 11 or 12 at night. Now, her parents, it was a heat wave. They couldn't sleep. They went to the bar. They brought their 2 kids. They let them play in the parking lot at midnight. The little girl disappeared. They organized a search party. About 3 or 4 hours later, they went to a gravel pit, and two airmen had called, or 2 itinerant guys had called the local sheriff and said there's a guy here that wandered out of the brush with scratches and blood, no shirt, and he doesn't know how he got here or who he is. The police came. His name was Jimmy Shaver. He was an airman. They did a search, and they found the little girl's body not too far away, and she had been raped and murdered by this guy who had no memory of doing it. The guy had no history of violence. He had a couple kids, and he was a flight instructor at the school. He'd been in the military for a number of years. I think he was in his early 30s. Well, guess who became his psychiatrist in preparation for the trial? Jolly West, who inserted himself into the case and then extracted his memory from him using sodium pentothal, where he admitted to the murder. Now, in the context of what we found out West was doing and what his objectives were, at that same time, it raises huge questions about this was an experiment gone wrong, that he was part of one of these experiments at Lackland Air Force Base where he was signed up. During the trial, it came out that he had had treatment for severe migraines, experimental treatment at Lackland. That that's another, a smaller subchapter in the book. But
does it describe what kind of experimental treatment he received?
No, because nobody. I mean, I have all the testimony. There was actually a trial, a retrial, and sentencing. And every time it came up, it was really frustrating because he never testified. So it was either his wife or his mother who would talk about it. It was mostly his mother saying, well, all I knew was they wanted him to be involved in this 2-year study to try to relieve his migraines. He would have such horrible migraines, he would put his head in buckets of ice water. The people who described encountering him that night when he was arrested and immediately taken out of the sheriff's custody by the military police and brought to Lackland and then back to the sheriff's. He was in a trance. The doctors tested him for alcohol because they thought, well, maybe he's drunk. He had just a little bit of alcohol in his system, but he wasn't drunk. And after the fact, they found out that he had, I mean, I don't want to get into this because it's really getting into the weeds, but he had hallucinated that this little girl was a cousin who sexually abused him as a child, and he was trying to kill her. Her name was Beth Rainbow. All this stuff came out of the trial. Jolly West in 1955 sent a report to Sidney Gottlieb, which nobody had seen, and it was another document I found in his files, announcing that he had learned how to, or developed the technology to remove true memories and replace them with false memories in a human subject without their knowledge, which was one of the main goals, the biggest goals of the MK Ultra program. And again, when the CIA, when they had the hearings in the 70s, the CIA said nothing was successful. Everything we tried was a failure. It was a waste of money. We shouldn't have done it. And not just me, but most experts think that that was a cover, that they didn't want to admit that they had developed these technologies that were effective. They also claim that they had released everything they had. I found the same report where West said that he had learned how to replace true memories with false ones without a person's awareness, but they had removed that from the report and then released it to Congress. So that's a crime right there, you know. So there's a lot of that stuff in the book.
So the speculation is that this guy, through these experimental treatments, that they had dosed him up with LSD and experimented using these MK Ultra techniques and did that to him and induced some sort of...
Well, this is speculation,
Yes.
and I'll go there
Okay.
for this. The guy had no history of violence, never been arrested, stellar, upstanding citizen. His only problem was he had these horrible headaches. All of a sudden, he shows up by a small girl's body who'd been brutally murdered with no memory of doing it. A year earlier, Dr. West, who became a psychiatrist within a week or two, possibly had experiences with him before, but there was no record. Oh, when I tried to get the record from the medical center at Lackland, his file, his name was Shaver, I think it was S-A to S-I, was missing. So where Shaver would have been in the medical records, it was gone. So I couldn't find out whether he had actually participated in any kind of experimental program there.
So is the speculation, and again, this is speculation, that he did commit the crime, that he was somehow or another induced into committing this crime?
Yeah, and again, this is speculation.
Yes.
It's completely circumstantial. The objective was to get people who would go out and do things, not even necessarily kill, that was the ultimate goal, but to do things against their will, against their moral code.
Right,
even.
but how would they know that this child would be there? How would they know?
Oh, no, she wasn't targeted.
So was it just that they'd put it into his head to go
Yeah,
do
and
that to anyone?
Yeah, something clicked and went wrong.
So it wasn't a precise thing.
No,
It wasn't.
no.
About a little place called Skinwalker Ranch, where the government was studying this property. That happened because of his book. Some DIA guys. Well, you should tell the story of
I
the
visited
link.
that place.
Yeah, but right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you got to. I think he created something called NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science, which he made a science advisory board of the best and the brightest in both the UFO field and the field of consciousness. So they're looking at two questions: is there life elsewhere in the universe? Is it here? And do humans survive after death? So in 2005, we write the book about Skinwalker Ranch. NIDS, that team, bought the ranch. They were on the property for 7 or 8 years at that point and had hundreds of different incidents that they investigated. They approached it like scientists would. They looked for prosaic explanations. They looked for gravity anomalies. They looked for psychoactive plants. Could there be hallucinations caused by magic mushrooms or something? Are the witnesses lying? They investigated the background of the family that had lived there. And they found out that it could not be explained, all the range of activity there. So it was not only
what
UFOs.
kind of activity are we talking
Well,
about?
it starts with UFOs because that's what got their attention. The Uinta Basin in northeastern Utah has always been a UFO hotspot. Everybody who lives there basically has seen them. Balls of light, orbs, structured craft, daylight, nighttime. In 1976, a guy named Dr. Frank Salisbury wrote a book about it, the Utah UFO Display, and he took hundreds of these cases that have been collected by the locals. There was a local science teacher named Junior Hicks who, because he had taught generations of kids science in that area, when people would see UFOs, they'd call up Junior Hicks, and he went and go and investigate them. And he had hundreds and hundreds of files. He gave them over to this guy Salisbury, who wrote a book about it, and he said, these are real, they're going on. But Junior Hicks would disregard any high strangeness cases that came along with the UFOs. Anything weird, Bigfoot, ghosts, anything like that, he thought it was too incredible, and he discarded that. Bigelow buys the ranch. He hears about these stories going on this one property, flies in, meets with the rancher, and by this time, that rancher and his family had lived on the ranch for 20 months. And they were so scared that he, his wife, and his 2 kids were all sleeping at night on the floor in the same room because it had messed with them so badly. Their property had ghost-type activity, poltergeist kind of things, trickster activity. For example, the wife goes shopping to the grocery store. She buys all this food, comes back, puts it on the table, takes it out, puts it in the shelves, leaves the room, comes back in, all the food's back in the bag. She would take a shower in the morning, locks the door, puts a towel and a hairbrush on the cabinet, gets out of the shower, door's still locked, hairbrush and towel are gone. Dad's out in the field. He is digging a post hole, using a post hole digger, heavy piece of equipment. He stops for a second, wipes his brow, looks back, and it's gone. And they find it 2 weeks later up in a tree. They start hearing voices at night in the air, speaking a strange language. They start seeing shapes outside the window at night, big, lurking humanoid shapes, hearing heavy footsteps outside, then hearing heavy footsteps inside. Then their animals started being mutilated. Cows, the tracks would lead out into the snow and then just be gone. Calves, mutilated, cut up with surgical precision. Cats, wiped out, carved up. Dogs that were vaporized. Hundreds of these incidents. They would see holes in the sky, like a great big hole in the sky, and things flying in and out of it. Now, this rancher, college-educated guy, grounded, strictly religious guy, thinks the government is trying to run him off his property. So he's out there at night lurking with a gun, trying to catch whatever government agents are doing this stuff. And it's not government agents. It was something else. They start seeing UFOs of all shapes and sizes. The first one they saw was they thought it was a Winnebago. This ranch is a beautiful place, and it only has one way in and one way out. They see these 2 lights that look like headlights down in the 3rd homestead. How did this guy get past the house here and get down there? He must be stuck. Let's go down and help him out. The lights start coming toward he and his son. Then they go up into the sky, up over the trees, and then poof, gone. These different kinds of orbs, the white ones that were intelligently controlled, not fireflies, not bugs, blue ones that would go, they seem to touch the fear center in your brain. They'd get near them. They look like a little bigger than a softball, made out of glass with a swirling blue liquid, scared the hell out of the animals, and then it scared the hell out of the people too. This literally drove them to their knees with fear. These red orbs that would stampede the cattle. They lost so many cattle that they began to think that they were going to go under. They had these 4 prized bulls. I know I'm jumping around, but there's a lot of stories. They had these 4 prized bulls, 2,000 pounds each, behemoths, very expensive animals because they were raising Simmental cattle. Had them in the corral, and the husband and wife They always felt like they're being watched. He says to the wife as they're driving to town, man, if something happens to one of those bulls, we'll go under. We'll be done. They come back a half an hour later. All 4 of the bulls are gone. They jump out. They're freaking out. Where did they go? Did somebody steal them? Are they rustlers? Looking around all over the place. In this corral is a metal trailer where they used to store tools. And there's only one door into it, and it's locked with this heavy piece of wire. The door is still locked. The wire is still on there. The guy, just as a last resort, he looks into the grating on top of this trailer, and there's the 4 bulls inside. Door's still locked. They're all crammed in there. Now, you could take a forklift. You could have a team of 50 people, and they couldn't get those bulls in that trailer, but there they were. He yells to his wife, hey, honey, they're in here. And when he says that, the bulls wake up as if out of a trance, kicked the door down, and all got out. The NIDS team, which had been on the property for a couple of years at that point, fly in. They'd been in Las Vegas. They fly back in. They look around. They check out the animals. The whole corral, which is made out of metal, had been magnetized. So whatever technology was used to get those bulls from the corral into that trailer left a magnetic signature. They were there on the property, the NIDS guys, for several years. Bigelow owned it for 20 years. But eventually they gave up. Whatever this thing was, this intelligence, it did not like being stalked, and it played tricks on them. And they never made the stuff public because what are you going to do? Write a paper about this? Who's going to print it? You can't make a documentary about it because they weren't there with cameras.
Is there any evidence? So, well, all this we're saying, those cattle mutilations, I guess that's some evidence, but that's only evidence of cows, and we can mutilate cows. What about all this other stuff?
Like for the first 20 months when the rancher is there, they don't have any evidence because he's not a paranormal investigator. They're not taking photos or something. They want it to go away. So they don't have any evidence of that except for what the rancher told them. But then they talk to the larger community, and the same thing has been happening to all the neighbors. The guy who lives next door had lost all these cattle as well, seized the craft. Sometimes these craft would float around. They looked like stealth fighters with Christmas lights around them, floating around silently.
Again, is there any evidence?
No, not really. I mean, So Bigelow puts up cameras all over the property, and you have them focused here where some activity had happened before. The thing moves over here. You move the cameras and focus there, it goes away. Toward the end of the study, whatever it was that was there, one of these cameras would rip to shreds. They're up on top of a telephone pole, 30, 40 feet in the air. And there's wires that are secured all the way down the telephone pole. And they noticed that one of their cameras goes out. They figure, well, there's another camera on another pole that should have a view of whatever it was that tore this up, some kind of animal or whatever. Well, whatever it was invisible. And I know it's very frustrating. It certainly was for them and for me to try to write about it, in that this thing didn't want to be caught. It wanted to demonstrate that it was there, but it didn't want to have evidence. The calf that was mutilated was in, I know it's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
The calf that was mutilated, it was a Sunday morning. It's 10 o'clock on a quiet morning. It's daylight. The rancher and his wife are there by themselves. They're tagging newborn calves, tag their ears. And they tag this one right by the ranch house, 50 yards from their home, and they go off across the property. It's a clear day. It's unobstructed. Their dog is with them and makes a noise that points them back toward that first calf that they had tagged. And the dog indicates that something's wrong. And they see the mom cow is dragging its leg and going around in a semicircle. It's in distress. They go running back over there, and this calf had been completely stripped of flesh. Nothing left but a hide and bone, and one of the femur bones had been ripped out and thrown on the side. Well, they call in the NIDS guys. They bring in trackers. There are no tracks. There's no human tracks, no vehicle tracks, no animal tracks. The thing had been completely stripped of blood. There's not a drop of blood on the ground. It's gone. 75 pounds of meat gone. Again.
Over a time period of?
30 minutes. Is there a team of commandos that comes in and does that?
Where's the
forces?
blood go?
Yeah.
And there's evidence of this?
Yeah. It's
photographs?
On video. Yeah, video. Yeah.
Can we see that?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I made a movie called Hunt for the Skinwalker. It's in there, right? Is that the only place?
Yeah, it's probably some other places. There's photos and video.
I mean, so I'm with you, man.
What's the speculation about? Like, why would they do this, and why would they do the cattle mutilations? Like, what is?
Yeah.
Is there any speculation?
Some. So some of it is a demonstration. I mean, it seemed to be a demonstration to get their attention. This trickster element has been reported in other places around the world. There's no hotspot quite like Skinwalker, and I know how weird it sounds. There's no spot like that because there's no spot that's been studied to that extent. The NIDS guys were there for, well, Bigelow owned the property for 20 years. NIDS was active for 7 or 8. Then another secret study funded by the government came in under an organization called BASS. That was the money that Reed got. He got $22 million. It went to Bigelow as a contract, and they hired all these people and fanned out all over the world to try to find UFO information, but other related phenomena, things that wouldn't seem normally to be connected to UFOs, but which are.
But is there any evidence of anything weird? Anything other than mutilated cows?
Well, let's see. The video of the camera that was torn up by something invisible. They had something that
so in the video you can see the camera being torn apart?
You can't see anything. There's nothing. You can't see anything. You can see before it happens, it's normal, and afterward.
So I think
how much time is taking place between before and after?
I can't remember. But I mean, could that be hoaxed? Yeah, if Bigelow wanted to. But again, they weren't there to, in the beginning at least, for NIDS, they weren't there to try to prove that aliens are visiting. They're just trying to figure out why all this weird stuff is happening in one spot.
Right.
It mixes in a lot of Native American lore that got mixed in the picture, but it's been going on in that Uinta Basin for 200 years. Why? Don't know.
I mean, our government has studied the so like what is evidence? It's so frustrating to me too. When I was introduced to the Skinwalker thing through George, man, I'm with you. Like, what's the evidence? What's going on? The weight of evidence is when you talk to people in the area and they all have these commonalities. Some people died of exotic cancers from burns from above where lights came down and hit them, and that's evidence. Their face is completely irradiated and they fucking died.
So there's the cow.
That's the cow, yeah.
So you have a scientist like Dr. Colin Kelleher.
Hold on for a second. That's where they found it? Look at that.
Yeah.
Just what in the fuck can... That is so crazy. Now, did they scan the area to look for another spot where it could have been slaughtered before it was moved to this area?
Well, that's what they concluded, is it had to have been taken somewhere and slaughtered and then brought back. But
Jamie,
who does
that a little larger, please? Can you just zoom in on that? Because that doesn't look very surgical to me. That looks like wolves.
Yeah, it was. There's no...
Just...
They actually did an analysis, and it was done with 2 types of metallic tools.
But look at all the jagged edges.
They said they took samples and they sent them to 2 pathology labs. Didn't tell the guys what they're looking for. You tell us what you can see. And the pathologist said that 2 instruments had been used. One was a heavy machete type instrument that had been hacked, and then there is a scalpel that had surgically removed a lot of the flesh underneath.
It looks like something killed it and then they moved it to that spot. I mean, if I had to guess. The way it's eaten, though, I mean, it looks like it was eaten.
Well, there's no teeth marks. There are metallic marks. There's no teeth mark.
Meaning they
like
found...
a sliced.
Okay.
And
so something sharp sliced it.
So I think the bigger point is this was happening on this ranch with owners prior to owners prior to owners. I got to talk to a lot of people that knew. So here's the deal, the connection of this. So George does this thing, he reports on this for 20 years. The government is now studying this ranch, right, because of deployment or because of all this weird stuff. Why is the government spending money through OSAP to study this ranch and other things? And that's where it gets really fucking interesting. What happens after with our government programs? And that's what you know.
This is before we get to that. This image, like the jagged edges around the rib cage, that's supposedly sliced. That looks like hacked. Okay.
I mean, look, it could, let's say it's people doing this, 2 farmers to get them out of there. Let's say it's some program. I mean, although the cattle mutilation thing, you gave me a stack of documents this big, has been studied by the FBI. It's happened all over the country.
Yeah.
No one has ever been caught, not a single person.
More than 10,000 cases.
With all the same types of cuts. I mean, this is not my expertise.
No, I've seen a lot of that. It's really weird.
There is another
really
theory.
Weird, and the lack of blood is the weirdest part of it. Because what makes sense to me is that something killed that, They butchered it. They chopped all the meat off of it, and then they removed the carcass from that area and dropped it off there.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, if I had to guess.
That's what NIDS thinks.
There's no way that it was killed right there because you're seeing fresh, clean hay underneath it everywhere. There's no blood, which doesn't make any sense at all.
I think the question is this a government program? Is this something, or is this a scare tactic? It's been happening since the 50s. Like,
It's a weird scare tactic. Click on that one below it, Jamie, the brown one with the green. Yeah, that one, please. Thank you. That's a weird one, too. Like, there's like a hole cut out. And there's a bunch of these they found all over the country, and weirdness, like organs removed. But the weirdest part about it is it's almost always there's no blood.
Yeah, I just investigated one, which I never thought I would do, but I got a call from a guy in Texas.
You got to see it physically?
Yeah, so right before lockdown, I go out and I'm like, this is so wild, I got to check this out. The guy calls me, it's a pretty freshy one at this point. Now, I'm no expert, but I went and got samples and took them to labs and this sort of thing to see if there were tools used. So here's my experience.
Did you get pictures of this?
Yeah, I filmed the whole thing.
You have it on your phone?
I'll show you after. I got it on my phone. Yeah. So I got great fucking photos. Weird shit.
Well, listen, man, just airdrop them to me now, and we'll send them to Jamie, and we'll put it up on the screen so other people can see it.
Okay, so let me...
Yeah, after the show is not going to help us.
While you're looking, I'll tell them about one of the theories about the cattle mutilations that Dr. Colin Kelleher developed was that somebody is tracking the spread of like mad cow prions through the food supply, and that they've been doing it under the guise of UFOs, since no one would take UFOs and cattle mutilation seriously. They just do it in helicopters, and instead of just stealing these cattle, they're tracking how far these indestructible prions travel through the food supply, because it's in cattle, it's in pigs, it gets fed into chickens and things like that in feed, it's in deer. It's called chronic wasting disease in some circles. It's just weird.
Well, chronic wasting disease that's a different prion disease than mad cow.
Well,
right?
it's a variation. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, I think, too. So the same kinds of things in different species. It is indestructible again. So you hit a deer that's got this, and you grind it up and you feed it to pigs. The pigs get it.
Yeah.
And then it could be passed on to other species, and it shows up in different ways. Kelleher was exploring the idea, whether or not it might be the cause of Alzheimer's or a version of mad cow in humans.
In the panhandle. I'm blanking. So here's the deal. Oh, yeah, that's it. So I made the movie based on George's work of the same title, Hunt for the Skinwalker, right? And that movie was telling this story about how the United States government was studying this property of land because of UFOs and weird stuff. That and weird stuff included things like cattle.
Pull up this one. There's a lot of weird images, man. This the skin removed around the face.
Right. So this was
the skull.
This is my first chance to see this for myself, because last time I was on your show, it was the ones in Oregon had just happened up at that ranch. And I thought, well, okay, if I'm ever going to do it, now's the time to do it. So I go, I get this call. Now, remind you, this is a rancher. This is their livelihood. It's this huge, huge area of land.
Right there. Stop right there.
They're a very religious community. We go out to the middle of this land, and in the middle, there's this dead cow.
No blood.
No blood. And he had seen it prior, and the reason he called me is because in my movie, you could see this special kind of slice, like a jagged slice that is common to these types of things they think are real mutilations. And he is looking at it, he's like, that's exactly like in the movie. Now, this is a straight shooter. He's a religious guy. He had to ask his pastor if he could even go on camera with me. It freaks him out. So he sees this. Now, he sees dead animals all the time.
And he saw this cow, you said, before?
Accidentally. He was out shooting BB guns with his kid, and he's on this big part of land, and he sees this down bull, and he goes over to it, and he's looking at it, and it's unlike anything he has ever seen in all of his years before. It had surgical cuts. There is no doubt somebody cut up this animal with those classic, like the ear gone, two types of tools, like a scissor type. But by the way, I tried to cut it. It is not easy to cut. So they had sharp tools, and then there's like a very thin slice kind of cut. So I got to take it, get samples, take them to labs, and try to see What type of tools did this? How did they do this with no blood on the ground? And all the soil around it was dead. So I was like, well, why is it all dead? Is that a natural thing? So I took soil samples and took them to a lab. And again, I'm outside of my... This is weird to me.
Okay.
But I think it's a real phenomenon. Somebody is killing these animals.
Someone.
However you want to say it. Someone is killing these animals in a highly specified technical way that has been repeated since the 50s on. Our FBI has studied it. He has shown me so many reports of these in association with discs, saucers.
Did this guy have any association with discs or saucers or anything?
No, he's just a guy that owns the land.
So he just found this cattle that's weirdly mutilated.
Somebody killed it.
Yeah.
And he's like, is this demonic? Is this some sort of Satanist thing? And I said, I don't think so, man. This goes back in history.
Like, I'm looking at the cuts specifically. They're very unimpressive.
Well,
it doesn't look like a laser did it or some incredibly sharp scalpel.
No, it was like a serrated. One was a serrated tool, and the other.
That's the thing I'm saying. It's like something that we could do.
Oh, absolutely. We'd have to somehow do it though in Texas land, where the guy would shoot you in the face if you go and try to touch one of his cows. See, that's the other thing. No one's ever been caught. Never.
That's what's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's frustrating too. I mean, I've been to the ranch, the Skinwalker Ranch in the Basin, more than 24 times. I've never seen anything. I've interviewed the neighbors. I've interviewed the scientists. These are PhD level guys who had seen this stuff. A lot of times they have cameras that fail. I mean, it's, you've heard that story before, and it's very convenient that it happens just when some giant disc shows up, but it does happen, that their car batteries would die in the same spot. Whatever it was messed with them.